Dawn of the Dead remastered in 3 dimensions. Not one, not two, 3 dimensions. And after I went and saw Jaws in IMAX, and then I kind of had that FOMO that you saw Friday the 13th in 3D.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh man, I'm not going to miss this one. But what was interesting about this one is this was shot in 1978.
Yeah.
Clearly not shot for 3D.
For sure.
So I was like, how are they going to do this?
Yeah.
And right out of the gate, I was like, holy shit, this is 3D.
So it really works. Damn,
it worked really well.
I need to check those times. I need to check those times. You said it's still playing.
Yeah, they extended. It was so successful, they extended it till Saturday. It was originally supposed to be a 4-day engagement, but now they extended it to Saturday. And we had it was all super fans in there, so it wasn't packed. So you really got to enjoy it. But so
I got to tell you, that Dawn of the Dead music gets me hyped.
Oh yeah,
especially that one
thing.
The one where they're clearing the zombies out of the parking lot with the trucks.
Oh,
it's like,
It's so, and I had no idea. I didn't know the backstory. You probably did. You have more of a film background than me. I had no idea that was Dario Argento's house band called Goblin.
Yeah. You coming to the Goblin show? I got tickets for Goblin.
What?
Yeah, I got tickets for Goblin. They're doing Suspiria at the Paramount. I told you we're going to be at the Paramount all month, a bunch of times this month.
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah. Well, we'll talk
when
about that. That's that's coming up on. I don't know the date, but I got tickets for that too.
Oh, 100%. I would go to that. That would be a fantastic show. Yeah, we got a lot. We got Quentin Tarantino, Kevin Smith, now Goblin, all at the Paramount. Gotta love Austin. But anyway, yeah, I had no idea when I saw that. I was just filming the credits, and I was trying to by then it was like everybody was over, and it's not like it had spoilers. No one was upset that I had my phone out. I was trying to take some pictures. But it added that extra dimension, right? So sometimes it was blurry, sometimes it won't. And you can tell it wasn't like the red-blue, but there was definitely one side darker than the other.
Wait, did they give you red? Did they give you the red-blue glasses or the brown glasses?
No, they gave me the real,
okay,
what they call the real 3D glasses.
Yeah.
Those recyclable ones. And here's the thing and this is what I was going to ask you. Could they have possibly put in insert shots? Or do you think there were some shots that were designed to shoot at the camera and we just didn't think anything of it back then because clearly it wasn't 3D, but Romero may still say, oh, this will be cool if when this glass blows up, it'll shoot right at the camera.
I'm sure he would attempt stuff like that, but the thing with Dawn of the Dead is there's a lot of extra footage. That there's multiple cuts, right? I'm guessing that this was probably the original theatrical cut, but there's the extended cut, there's the European cut. There's a lot of different versions that they could have pulled shots from.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because I would say there was close to maybe a dozen really 3D coming at you Friday the 13th type shots. Remember how you're telling they were intentionally trying to shoot, make it coming at you?
Yeah.
I didn't think, they're not going to have any of those shots, but they did. Like the one scene when Roger was trying to hotwire the truck and the zombie hit the glass behind him. The glass flew out there, and I did one of those gimmicks that I jumped, I stole it. The glass was coming at me, and I was like, wow, I fell for that. Was the first one that I noticed. Then the iconic scene that I think we all remember was when he's sliding down the escalator. I didn't think about it, but he slid into the shot.
Oh yeah,
and his feet came right at the camera, and that was another 3D shot.
Nice,
dude. It was great. There was a couple of blood splatters.
Did it look like it was coming out of the screen?
It did.
Yeah, it had that old school 3D look.
Yeah, so it was that's what I was wondering is they didn't do it, so how did they insert these?
I don't know, because the thing about 3D is modern 3D kind of just looks like the screen is deep. Right?
Yes.
It looks like you can see into the screen, whereas the old 3D really looks like it's coming out of the screen at you.
Yeah, and there was only a few of those. For the majority of the film, they just added that deep screen feel, which it looked really good. Even the newscast in the beginning, right, when she was setting up, a lot of that looked really good because they had the front and center shot and all the background people scrambling all behind her and stuff added that extra dimension in there. And it just, it was almost close to $20 to see a movie that we've owned and we've seen dozens of times. but
I
it was
literally just
100%
watched
worth
it in my living room the other day on a pop screen.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. Yeah, I remember when you did that. Yeah. And this is still worth it. This is still worth it because there's something about seeing it in the big screen, on the big screen. And we talked about this before when we saw, what was it, Amusement Park? That George
Yeah.
Romero has a weird knack for all of his stuff looking like documentaries. Like he's not booking actors, he's booking his friends.
Like I said, well, my thing is always George Romero is the corporate video hero. He got over doing corporate videos, you know.
Yeah.
He did local commercials, local little documentaries for business. The amusement park itself was a corporate video that got
That's
out of
hilarious.
hand. It was a video for a church, which I guess a church for video is not corporate, but it is.
Yeah.
But it was a corporate video, you know. So he's got that style of everything just looking real.
And it was, man,
across.
like all the people, like remember all the stuff in the beginning when they had he called them the rednecks are enjoying this and they were going in the hunting lines and stuff. They just like regular people, like, here, let me get a shot of you pouring your friend some coffee and, you know, messing with your bullets. And it's just none of these people felt like actors.
Yeah.
It felt like we were watching a weird newscast,
Yeah.
like a surreal newscast.
Well, and the zombies don't feel like actors either.
No.
They feel like they're not over zombieing. You know what I mean? They're just they have like one gimmick that they do, and they just stick with it, and that's it. And they just do it for that shot. You know, no one's trying to be an over dramatic zombie.
And it did make you appreciate. If you had to choose between like fast zombies and slow zombies, I think we live in a world where there's room for both, and the rules in this world are as follows: the zombies are slow. Because in this universe, the zombies are evolving, right? They're starting to learn. And I remember, right, Bub and Day of the Dead, right? That's when they were really starting to study. I didn't realize that started in this one.
Yeah. And it continues in Land. Did you see Land of the Dead?
Yeah. I remember you told me to watch Land.
Is the continuation. Now you've got Big Daddy, who is the evolution of Bub.
Yeah. And I just for some reason growing up, I don't remember it, but it was more evident in this one than ever, right? You had they're going to the mall, they're trying to do what they did. They had the gun, and then they were like kind of looking at the gun, and they were doing all that. It's like, man, I really don't remember all of this because I was terrified.
Yeah.
But I had my own personal Mandela effect for Dawn of the Dead. Yeah.
Yeah.
For some reason, you know, Tom Savini was in it as, you know, the leader, I guess, of the nomad biker gang. For some reason, I thought he was the one that had that very famous scene when the zombies put him on the ground and they start digging in his inside and you see the intestines and he's,
No, that was Rhodes from Day of the Dead.
Right.
Yeah.
That was not him. And I was like, for some reason, I swear, I don't remember Tom Savini doing the job by just getting sniped by Peter from the tile in the ceiling, and then he's done.
Yeah. But he does make a reemergence in Land of the Dead.
That's right. He is in there.
Yeah. As the same character, yeah.
Oh, I didn't know. I didn't realize. So he was in his same getup.
Yeah.
So he survived all of that.
Yeah. And technically, I feel like that character is also canon in Robert Rodriguez because isn't that Sex Machine from...
he is Sex Machine and From Dusk Till Dawn.
Yeah.
He clearly could be canon in that. Wow, you just tied two universes together.
Yeah.
The multiverse is real. The Hollywood multiverse.
The Hollywood zombieverse.
So I was trying to think of some stuff that was 1978 type dialogue that wouldn't be appropriate for today's audience. And honestly, dude, there was really only like one big one that you're like, ooh, you kind of squirmed in the seat. You know, you had that one SWAT guy that was kind of flipping out, and then he was hitting everybody he went down the list of all the racial slurs.
Why is he so mad?
Yeah, he was furious.
Are you serious? He seems unreasonably angry.
Yeah, and like you can tell that Roger wanted to do something about it, and he's like, forget it. Let's just leave it be.
Yeah.
But that one was bad. But what got the biggest pop for being inappropriate in the movie and it was a laugh pop, was when she's like, she's pregnant, isn't she? And he's like, yep. And next scene, she's like, she's taking a big drag off the cigarette.
It was the 70s, bro. It was a different time.
Yeah, it was just like, my mom smoked the healthy cigarettes when she was pregnant with me. Yeah, they were the brown ones, more menthols.
Virginia Slims. It's the thinner, less nicotine.
Yeah, so they weren't as dangerous. So I
like the part where it's always like the beginning of when they're taking off and everyone's looking for cigarettes. It's like, hey, you got any cigarettes? And like, nope. And as soon as the chopper leaves, they all light up. Yeah. That's like the first sign that everyone's out for themselves, bro. We're on our own.
That did get a pop too, because you're right. All of them whipped out cigarettes.
Yeah, because it's like, you know what? Like in regular civilized society right now, anybody who smokes will gladly share a cigarette with someone else who smokes because they'll want somebody to smoke with. You know,
right?
And cigarettes are expensive now. They cost a lot. They're damn near $10 for a pack of cigarettes. But still, if you're a smoker and then another smoker needs a smoke, they'll spot you. You know,
yeah,
it's like the pay it forward to smokes. But in Dawn of the Dead, like totally, it's like, nope, we got none. And as soon as they're clear, they all four of them light up like vindictively.
Yeah, that got a big pop in there too. And there's something about, clearly, it creates the ambiance of, like, I always say 70s horror movies to me is the scariest generation. And I think it's because that generation comes from, like, let's just do this. We're going to smoke. We're going to drink. Our kids are drinking whiskey. We're going to do all this in front of them. No Fs were given at all in the 70s, and it added to it. And then they have, like, really graphic scenes in a lot of 70s horror.
For sure.
But this one still had a touch of a comedy vibe. Would you agree or disagree?
A comedy vibe. Would you?
Sorry, check this out. I mean, no, it definitely. I mean, it's satire.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, just the music, the closing music, right? What's the closing music? Is that silly circus music?
Which also is Goblin, right?
It's the Robot Chicken music that they stole. But like, yeah, it's just like it's definitely a satire. I mean, I never found Dawn of the Dead scary. I mean, I know you said you're terrified of it. To me, it never felt scary. It was like an adventure movie. You know what I mean? I think it's the movie. Like, if not for Dawn of the Dead, you wouldn't have 1,000 other video games that exist right now. It's sort of like it kicked that off. It was the survival movie.
Oh wow, you're right. Yeah, this is more of a Resident Evil than
Yeah.
than any other zombie movie for sure.
Yeah. I lost my. Sorry, I still get the Scottish flu, but
you were talking about it was just like the Scottish flu.
Yeah.
No, you're right. It was more of an adventure movie. It just had a lot of visuals that scared me, but it also had a lot of visuals that cracked me up. Right.
Because it's a comedy. It's satire.
Yeah.
And then you've got that whole sequence when they're all okay. They've secured the mall. And everything's cool, and now they just go shopping. And now you're just having that part where the world has ended. You got a shopping mall to yourself, so it's just like, let's go.
He had the little black and white TV under his arm when he was walking,
let's
and
go
they're
get
jewelry.
A bunch of different hats, try on some jewelry, eat a bunch of fancy cheeses. Why not? And they had a gun store at that mall. I don't think that's the case anymore, but that's fortunate for them.
Yeah, they did have a gun store.
Yeah.
And they played that, also another Goblin song. They had like that safari music that they played.
Oh yeah, that's right.
But I guess, at that time that was one of those things, like, you're just living the dream, right? That, malls were just getting big. Like,
it was a different story. It was a different story. Like, they were still figuring out malls. They didn't realize that the mall needed to have a Spencer's Gifts and a Sharper Image and an Orange Julius, and that was like the formula. It was like, let's try all kinds of crazy stores. Let's put a gun store. Let's put a cheese store, whatever. It's like, let's try different things and put it in the mall and see if it works.
Because what's her name, Fly Girl, was kind of like, what is that? He's like, I think that's one of those shopping malls.
It's one of those indoor shopping malls.
Yeah, like,
why do they have so much spam there? Also, by the way, there's like cases of spam.
Oh, yeah, that got a pop too. It's like, you got a can opener? It's like, then don't knock it.
But why is there so much spam at this shopping mall? Is there a spam store?
I don't know. And I don't. They was that a last second helicopter pad that they threw on the roof too, and then they had all like the food reserves. So I don't know if that somewhere along the way they were gonna make it a makeshift survival center, and then like forget it. We can't make this work. Let's get out of here.
Yeah, let's just make it a shopping mall instead.
But dude, it's still the engagement is going all the way till Saturday. If you can shake it. So I would try to make it happen.
Yeah, I want to try.
Just go in the back. Just go sit separated. Like I had we had quadrants. They were all super fans there.
Yeah,
and then we were separated into 4 different quadrants.
Yeah.
So I'm not the theater that is playing. It's not an IMAX theater, but it's still pretty big. But it's very old school. But it was very fitting because I don't remember how eerie it felt to sit in a movie theater and just stare at a blank screen.
Yeah.
Like, man, these guys didn't even bother to get ads for this.
Oh, that's right. They don't do any ads, right? Okay.
No, movie didn't start until like 10 minutes before the movie started.
Nice.
All of a sudden, I was like, where the hell is Maria Menounos? Like, what's going on?
I need some trivia. What local businesses are around here that I might, frequent after this movie?
It's a captive audience, but yeah, they didn't do that. But it was very fitting because it felt like an old theater for this type of movie worked really well.
Yeah.
Because even afterwards, I got out of the theater and it was dark and there wasn't that many people in the parking lot. And I was like, and this was a solo adventure. I was by myself and I was like, man, this is just like, this feels really cool.
You're rocking it by yourself. You couldn't get Jack to go see the Dawn of the Dead 3D?
No. I convinced him to go see Pray for the Devil the day before. I couldn't get him to do 2 horror movies 2 days in a row. But this also was not at Alamo. I think if it was Alamo, he would have been like, I'll make this work. But he's like, where's it at? I was like, it starts with an R. No, I'm good.
Yeah.
But highly, highly suggest that work. And let me just do a quick, for those viewers who are watching this in the future and have not seen this, it is Stephen Flyboy Andrews, Peter Washington, Roger Trooper DeMarco, and Francine Fran Flygirl Parker star as survivors of the outbreak who barricade themselves inside a suburban shopping mall amid mass hysteria.
Yeah.
Just a small little synopsis. Did you know that budget didn't even bust $1 million?
No, yeah.
Now, granted.
Yeah, I knew that.
But the whole backstory that I had no idea is because I feel like I didn't really get into deep Dario Argento until you started schooling me on a lot of old school stuff. I had no idea how much he was intertwined with a lot of these early movies, these influences. Like you hear Tarantino talk about it, right? You hear it on all the podcasts, Eli Roth talking about it. I just had no idea to the point where he's like, oh, I like this guy. I'm going to help make this movie.
Right.
And it released in Italy before it even released in the U.S.
That's right. And it released over there as Zombie, and there's also a Zombie 2.
So it was actually released as Zombie? I had no idea.
Yeah.
See, I didn't know that.
The budget was $26 million according to the internet.
Really?
Yeah.
So I wonder how much that had modified or for.
Oh wait, no, you're wrong. I'm wrong. It's $640,000.
640, and it made 66 million, right?
The budget, 26 million, was the budget of the 2004 version. The original version, 640,000. That's less than your house, right?
Yeah,
it's just like
that in a shopping mall.
For the less,
they got a whole mall. They got helicopters
for your mortgage. They made Dawn of the Dead.
And how many? I mean, obviously they had tons of this isn't CGI. All those zombie hordes were extras. Those were just literally George Romero, Pennsylvania friends.
Right, because he was over in Pennsylvania as the local director, so he just announced he was making a movie. People show up. and you can tell these were just these weren't actors. So I didn't know. So Dawn of the Dead, followed by 4 official sequels, beginning with Day,
and a separate series of unofficial Italian-made sequels beginning with 1979 Zombie 2.
Well, there's unofficial Italian-made sequels to everything. There's like a Terminator sequel of an Italian one.
I would look, dude. How great would it be to go see that like dubbed in Italy?
Yeah.
How fun that would feel great. But Zombie 2, which is I always used to see, where you see it in magazines or you just see it on VHS traders. You'd see the zombie fighting a shark. Right. And I could never figure out when I was younger where that came from. And it was years later that I figured out, that it was Zombie 2, which turns out it was
Zombie 2, yeah.
Yeah, but again, I had no idea that how much he was intertwined with this. Another fun fact here is it's like its predecessor. It garnered large international cult following, and was chosen by Empire magazine as one of the 500 greatest movies of all time. Not greatest zombie movies, greatest movies of all time, according to Empire magazine.
To be fair,
Dawn of the Dead.
To be fair, that's a pretty steep list. 500 movies. You're in the top 500.
Hey, that back in the wrestling days, that was a big deal to get on Apter's top 500. Hey, I don't know if you noticed, but I was 436 in Apter's PWI 500. And then it was even a little bit more disheartening when you found that he made up half of those names. Like, oh, that wasn't a real wrestler. Yeah. I just needed to. I'm a writer, man. I'm creating here. Don't mess with my art. The only thing I wish they would have done was I wish they would have made Gimmick glasses that you got to keep.
Yeah, that would have been good.
I would have loved to have those in there for sure.
What prompted this? I was just kind of out of the blue to do a Dawn of the Dead 3D. Nobody asked for this.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I'm all for it. Start taking these movies instead of doing remakes. And we're going to talk about a remake, and we'll explain why you can't do a remake. Just remaster the old one and add a gimmick to it, and we're there. Right? This is like,
I'd have been in for a Dawn of the Dead IMAX or Dawn of the Dead whatever.
Yeah. Why not, man? This is like, now if you can do all of this stuff, it's probably going to be cheaper than a remake, and you're just going to get the people that want to experience. We're at a generation now that clearly, like, I didn't see this in theaters, and I was born then. But how many people, like, beyond that, we have a generation now that they just, consume content at such a high rate. There's no chance that they've seen any of these movies, like, past the 90s in theaters. So this will be like seeing a new release for them.
I only have time for 8-second videos. Like 1,000 of them at a time.
I think, yeah. And we gotta defend that with all we got. Got to keep the theater alive. I don't care if it becomes a boutique experience. I don't need it to be a big box, and honestly, I'm more interested in the filmmakers surviving more than like the corporate side of it, But it is what it is. I think there's room for both. I'll go to a popcorn flick and I'll go to a boutique flick. I don't care. But one thing I was going to bring up this to you, as you got a picture of Flyboy there after he got attacked. Another famous GIF. People know these from GIFs, like, oh, that's the GIF of everybody coming out into the elevator. Like, that was a pretty gnarly scene. But I saw on Shudder one of the documentaries with Tom Savini. He was like, man, I was so young back then. I didn't know the stuff. It just doesn't look like real blood, and it's really bothersome. And like, it bothered him. He's like, it looks like some kind of ketchup. And like right there, like if you see that picture, it looks good. Like that looks like he's bleeding, but I know what he's talking about. The blood squirting out was very, like, it had a bright red to it. So it didn't, but I think that looks great. That's like a great, like, that's an action figure that I'd like to have on my shelf.
Yeah. I mean, I'm all for it. Who wants to see real blood? I want to see theatrical blood. Yeah, just like in the Japanese samurai movies, they use paint. They use actual paint as the blood.
Yeah, it doesn't need to be. I mean, we're there for. We'll suspend our belief. To me, I feel like some of the bites, like you're asking, like earlier, it's like you weren't scared of this. I think what got me the most were the bites. Because growing up with 3 other brothers, there's 4 boys. There's a lot of fights in our house. And you were labeled a dirty fighter when you're biting each other, right? You weren't allowed to bite each other, and that fear was like, and I used to think like, what if you just instead of just biting me, like what if you kept going through, and you like pulled a chunk off, like what would that look like? And then I see this movie, and I'm like, looks horrendous.
Because when you bite someone, you physically bite someone, you sort of like you're pulling back on it. You don't commit to the bite. If you commit to the bite and you go through the flesh, which is totally doable, you know.
Oh yeah.
It's the whole of the story, but
yeah. And so when I saw that scene when the wife in the beginning went to hug her husband and she got it like right on the trap and she just took that bite out. I was like, oh my God, that's what that looks like. I want nothing to do with that.
I know Eli Roth always said that he was bothered by the screwdriver in the ear. That was always a big one for him.
Oh, yeah, I forgot. Yeah, they had there was some pretty again, they had some graphic stuff for its time, but this was it's very hard to have a film like Night of the Living Dead, right? That you consider a classic, you consider timeless, and then its next one it sits right up there with it. Like more people know about Night of the Living Dead, but nobody poo-poos Dawn of the Dead.
No.
It's up there too. Like you said, it's one of the first adventure movies, action movies, memorable zombie movies. Dawn of the Dead is right up there with its predecessor.
For sure.
So
I don't think anybody doubts that.
Yeah. I'm all for it. So if you get a chance, if it's coming to your town, it's a Regal event. So I don't know if Regal somehow got the rights to this. Not Alamo, not Cinemark, not AMC. This is a Regal event. Check your local Regal theater, and by the time you watch this, it may be too late, and then you'll have to hope that they do it again next year. Yeah. But if you get an opportunity to see any movie in 3D, and if it's one of your favorites, you need to do it.